Hello and welcome to a heavy episode of Laptop Retrospective. And the reason I'm calling it heavy is because this is heavy. I would like to introduce to you the IBM ThinkPad G40. And the G probably stands for golly, it's heavy. This is IBM's attempt to stick a desktop CPU into a laptop. And while it was successful, it did have a pretty short-lived life. So let's talk about this thing and what makes it so unique. And I can't think of a better way of starting than a side profile. Look at that thing. It's a wedge. The ThinkPad G series was an interesting development. Notice the one-hand latch. So cool. If you want to know more about that, click up here. This was trying to solve a problem that had existed for a very short period of time. These were manufactured from 2003 to 2006, and the G40, this one right here, would be the first in the series. The G50 would be the last one, and that was a Japan exclusive release. While this thing was technically impressive for that amount of time, and it did feature that either Intel Celeron or Pentium 4 desktop CPU, it was superseded and outclassed by Intel Centrino technology, which made it more power efficient, and you could get more bang for your buck in the T&R series that would come after it, making this thing really cool, but kind of a forgotten piece of ThinkPad history. These were manufactured by Acer under contract via IBM. There was several computers that would be in this boat, including the I series, which I recently featured on this channel. But let's talk about the guts of this thing and what make it so cool. For displays, we have a 14.1 or 15-inch TFT panel. They came in two resolutions, a 1024 by 768 for the 14 and 15. And if you were lucky, on the 15-inch, you got a 1400 by 1050 panel. As I mentioned earlier, Intel Celeron and Pentium 4 CPUs were shipped with this thing, and I'll leave a list of all the specs up on the screen. It's a bunch of numbers. They did feature Intel Extreme Graphics 2, which was a 64 megabyte shared card on board. And RAM was a maximum of 2 gigs of PC 2100 or PC 2700. It would feature a series of ThinkPad staples, including the track point and the UltraNav buttons. However, it would not feature a ThinkLight, probably because this was not designed to be mobile, and it was just one of those features that if you're not taking this on an airplane, and why would you probably wouldn't need a feature like that. We do have some upward firing speakers as well as some very heavy cooling grills because we are powering, of course, that desktop CPU, which means we need a massive power supply. This actually features a 4-pin connector that is only ever seen on docking stations. Like this example here, you'll note has the 4-pin connector on the back. So this is delivering quite a bit of power. This itself, unsurprisingly, has no need of a docking station. The docking station is built in. Look at that thing. So we're going to get this power supply out of the way for the moment, and let's do a tour of the ports. On the left-hand side, we have a card bus slot for your cards. We have a CD DVD tray. Now, this is not an Ultra Bay. That is built in. Along the back, we have the I/O that we would normally see on a docking station. The proprietary power plug, modem, Ethernet, 2 USB 2.0 slots, an option for an additional mouse, your printer port, your VGA, massive cooling intake, of course, a Kensington lock slot, because if this thing wasn't heavy enough to deter stealing, you can lock it to your desk and make it slightly heavier. 2 more USB 2.0 ports, a 3.5-inch floppy drive, and a headphone and microphone jack on the side. And along the front, we have absolutely nothing. The only other thing to do is to flip this on its back and do a quick disassembly to show you what's inside. Flipping this thing over is something that you want to do with 2 hands. And the first thing that we'll do is remove the battery. The battery in this thing, of course, is pretty bulky. How many watts is it, you say? All of them. I'm just kidding. I will put it up on the screen if I can find it. The next thing to do is to remove the RAM cover, and it would appear that we have a couple things in here. We have a CMOS battery, which is just a coin cell. We have the 2 RAM slots here, and I believe that is our probably 56K modem / Ethernet card. Those are usually Oh, yeah, modem, there it is. Written right on the side. And then the next thing to do would be to remove the keyboard. Oh, let's not forget the hard disk drive slot, which takes an extra large Phillips screwdriver. So we'll spin that out. And these era of machines, sometimes having the lid open does help with removal, and that's the case of this. Hitachi Travel Star awaits us. And we'll spin out the 2 screws labeled here on the bottom for the keyboard. And let's see. All right, we got our big chunky connector there. And it looks like we can remove a few FRUs from here. I'm going to guess that if I just give myself some room. Wow. That's a weird looking guy. Yep, as I suspected. All right, we've got this plastic cover that makes it easier to get to this zip connector and the screw to the floppy drive. You know, just in case you need it. And it looks like the bezel's going to have to come off now. All right, so believe it or not, it appears that some screws have been stripped on the inside of this, here and here. So further disassembly today might be a bit tricky, although we can get a pretty good look on the inside here. Here's the big massive Wi-Fi card right above the CD-DVD drive. Our display cable. This is obviously the CPU heatsink with this massive cooler that pretty much runs the entire depth of the machine. And it is a wee bit dusty in there, unsurprisingly, for a machine of this vintage. But yeah, it just goes to show, how do you build a laptop to run a desktop CPU in an era where it was a good idea for a couple years and then it was superseded? And that's kind of the story a lot of times, is we can build these devices to do this, only to have the technology improve, making these things obsolete. Always a bit of a gamble. Anyway, let's go ahead and put this thing back together. All right, so this is the Pentium 4, 2.6 gigahertz, so kind of middle of the road there in terms of what was available. And we have 1 gig of RAM installed in this, with a small portion of that, of course, going to the integrated GPU. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me, taking a look at this historical and short-lived line of the ThinkPad series, the G40 being the start of it. I'm curious, did you ever use a ThinkPad G series? If you did, make sure you're leaving your stories and experiences with them in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear what these were like to use when they were in their prime. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.